On today's episode, we're going to be speaking with the founder of a super successful e-commerce incubator agency who've managed to grow 3 brands beyond the $30 million revenue mark in just 2 years. It's a great episode you don't want to miss, so do stay tuned. Hello. Welcome to the 2X e-commerce podcast show. I'm your host, Kunle and this, as usual, is a podcast dedicated to rapid growth in online retail. Now, the interview you're about to listen to is an interview I had with Deividas. Deividas is a co-founder at a e-commerce growth incubator agency called Sugatan.io. Now, what they essentially do is they first of all started out as a Facebook marketing agency, and they fast realized that Facebook would not grow your business alone, and they started to delve into other things, other areas that would actually influence the wholesome growth of e-commerce businesses. And they have, over the last 2 years, done that terrifically well. They have 3 case studies of 3 businesses that were able to move past the $30 million a year mark. One was doing 300K, a month. Another was doing 30K a month, and another was from 0 to 30 million in 2 years. Now, what they do essentially is they do Facebook advertising. They manage the creatives in Facebook advertising. They do email, SMS, and then they do product launches. They obviously do not make the products, but they do methodic or formulaic, right? Product launches. Now, these product launches essentially, help with, growth quite significantly. So it's a brilliant episode I had, to talk about how they grew, their team from 7 to 70, and how they use like equity share to really get vested into the businesses they support. We talk about, everything, AOV, LTV, AOV is average order value, LTV, lifetime value, CPA, cost per acquisition, conversion rate. And he has a very methodic way of looking at these 4 metrics as to how they affect, growth in business. So it's a great episode. It was a great conversation, I had with Deividas, and you should listen to it if growth is something you're concerned about. You really want to learn more about from a lifetime value perspective. We also talked about just multiplier effects and and influencer marketing, a bit of influencer marketing. We did talk about that. Now, so if you are interested, that's great. But if this is your first time listening to this podcast or watching this podcast on YouTube and you haven't hit the subscribe button, please do that now. Because it just helps us. It helps us algorithmically to get more exposure. If you enjoy, listening to this podcast and you haven't yet, subscribed, do it. And if your podcasting platform has a review of sorts, please leave us a review. It really, really helps us from an exposure standpoint. And if you find this episode, interesting, the conversations we've had, or any bits of this episode interesting, share it on social media. Share it with your colleagues. Share it with your teammates. Just share it with people on your social media. Okay, I'm not going to babble too much anymore. You're going to jump in. You're going to listen to this episode, and I will catch you on the other side. Thank you. Bye. All right, guys, welcome to the 2X e-commerce podcast show. I'm your host, Kunle Campbell, and this is a podcast dedicated to rapid growth in online retail. So if you're like in the direct to consumer, selling space, whether you're a founder, whether you work in marketing, I'm pretty much going to help you sell more directly to your customers. And the way we do it is that every week we interview an expert, a founder, of a direct-to-consumer e-commerce business or representative from a best-in-class e-commerce SaaS product. And we pretty much help you with metrics such as conversions, average order value, repeat customers, your audience size, and ultimately sales. And I just want to get the best of the best, onto this show. Now, speaking of which, I'm joined by David from the agency Sugatan. Now, if you remember, it was back in, I think it was
2018.
2018, right? We had your founder, your co-founder, Kris Sugatan, who's the agency's
Who's my girlfriend, actually.
and she's your girlfriend.
My boss.
The women are always a boss, right? So we had her on, and at the time you were 7. Your team size was about 7, and now you're 70. Fast forward 2 years ahead. Essentially, these guys are Sugatan is a growth hacking D2C agency, and what they do is they're almost like an e-commerce incubator where they work with very specific partners. I wouldn't even call them clients, on typically a revenue, share basis, and they help them accelerate, their growth from wherever they are to their intended target based off on rev share targets. It's a very interesting model. I'm starting to see a few agencies start to implement, but it's very difficult to execute. And these guys have actually cracked a few nuts here. So it's super, super interesting. And I'm just excited to have you on, David. Welcome.
Thanks a lot. I'm your fan as well. I've listened to many podcasts of yours, and I've gotten so many ideas out of the interviews that you have done that I've actually implemented into my workflow as well. Whenever I would like ideas, I would go on to and listen to your podcast, with the guests that I knew that were doing well, and then I would apply it. And I think it was influence. So you talked with someone from influencer marketing, which inspired me to do influencer marketing in-house for us as well. So we have like this service as well for our clients.
No, I appreciate it. I always love the feedback. So thank you so much. I'm happy to hear that. Okay, now I guess I've probably not done your agency Sugatan sufficient justice. Could you take a minute or even two to explain who you guys are, what you do, and then we'll move from there.
Yeah, so we are kind of like as you said, like a e-commerce incubator. The companies come to us, and we know, at exactly what stage they are at, and we know exactly which kind of services do we need to provide for them in order to take to go into a new level of businesses. And there are quite a few levels, in the D2C businesses, and I borrowed actually I read about it in Blitzscaling in that book. And that there are levels of businesses, and they are called like families. Then I think it's like a small town, and then like a bigger city, and so on. And it's actually the same with D2C. This book was about technology businesses, but it's exactly the same thing with D2C businesses. So we kind of have gone through these stages with lots of businesses, and we know in which exact stage what kind of service do they need, and at the same time we know which kind of operations do they need, where do they need to improve, or which kind of tools do they need to apply to their businesses, because it's all formulaic as well. It's just you have to do quite a few times and with multiple businesses in different sectors to understand how it works. So I think where we are at right now is that we figured out a formula how to go to 30 million and above. Like with one of the partners, we're gonna do around 40 to 50 million this year. So we kind of, and it actually happened with 3 partners this year. So we kind of have formula to how to get there, and we have formulas, how to go from 30 million, from 30,000 per month to 300,000. That's where usually things start to break down, from 300,000 to 1 million, and then from 1 million to 3 million and above in monthly revenue. So that's what essentially we do. And as I told you before the interview, that we don't, focus only on one thing. Like, yes, Facebook ads and creatives are like super important for the business and to accelerate the business. But whenever we go into the business, we see, okay, like this is the spot that they're actually needing someone to come in, and we either hire, consult with someone, and we kind of start doing it on our own until we see that, okay, this is actually working. We need to hire someone in-house to be doing it for the rest of the clients. So that's the way we did it with influencer marketing, for example. And at the moment, we are scaling that part of our agency as well.
That's incredible. From what I can gather, there are lots of moving parts here. You started out as a Facebook ads agency, and you realized to drive growth, you need to be multifaceted. You need to be a marketing growth engine in itself. You talked about your latest venture going into influencer marketing, which is great for top of funnel traffic. You've talked about the creatives you do for Facebook. You talk about life cycle marketing with email. And you also talked about community building for some of your clients. So I guess my question now is, you probably get approached by lots of brands on a regular basis, on a daily basis. Like, I can imagine your inquiry box, right? Your inbound. How do you determine what brands, since you have a formula for growth to 30 million and beyond, what is your criteria for businesses coming to you to work with you, and you say, okay, this looks like an opportunity, this looks like a project we're willing to work for the next 2 years on, because we know they're going to hit the 30 million or even more target they're looking at?
Yeah, so we do have some kind of a formula. We are looking at conversion rate. We are looking how much revenue are they making currently. We are looking at the gaps where they have them right now. So, for example, there are some businesses that came recently to us that were making, like, let's say 10 million per year, and they were not doing Facebook ads. So we immediately knew, like, okay, this is like something that you can just plug in Facebook ads and accelerate the growth by a lot. But at the same time, we're kind of democratizing the entire agency. So we let our videographers tell us about the products that they are excited working with. Then we ask our lead strategists of the e-commerce business that we have, like, what do they think? And we kind of vote between the team members to see whether we are going to go into that business or not. And it's usually beauty. Like, we are really good at beauty. We scaled many beauty brands and health. So I think these are our kind of the golden niche that we're in, and we know how to do it really well. And Kris herself, she's like extremely good at creatives, and especially for beauty, she has like a very good sense of what's gonna convert. And we have a few videographers that have it as well. So as well, like, if we see that they don't do video ads well, we already know that, okay, this is going to be something that we can scale with. And at the same time, we don't go into these long-term relationships from the get-go. We go on a date for 6 weeks to see whether our formula works for them, or maybe it's not, because you wouldn't want to be in a relationship with someone with who you kind of don't have this just good relationship.
It makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. And so what about things like the ability for the brand to fulfill internationally? Does that ever come into the mix, into like your criteria, or are you able to geo scale within a certain country?
That's actually a challenge that I haven't been able to solve, because usually our clients, well, there are some clients that come from Europe, so it's pretty easy to do it from Europe. You can just ship it to the US, and like, it's not big of a deal from the tax perspective or anything like that, import taxes. The problem arises when we have a client who is a partner who is in the US, and then we need to be moving or expanding into Europe. But since most of the partners that we have are actually not looking to sell, actually that's another criteria that we're looking at, is that we want to be getting equities once we reach certain levels of revenues with certain amounts of profitability. We are looking to be building these companies to be able to sell. which means that we're kind of thinking like, okay, like if we want to sell, we need some room for the investors to be growing to. So for example, we know there are some brands that are kind of have the distribution, network. So we're kind of leaving the European market down there. What we are focusing we are focusing what we are pretty strong at, or at least we know how to do it pretty well. So product launches is a very strong part of our business, because we have done it with so many brands and we know how to do it. We can assure that every product that they're going to launch, it's going to be success. So that's also pretty attractive for the investors too, to have this kind of a formula. Then creatives, influencer marketing. Right now we just hired like a super great person to be even expanding our influencer marketing efforts even more, even though like we were doing really well, but now we just need to expand. Creatives, as I said, we're setting up studios in multiple locations to be able to crank up a lot more creatives needed for this kind of a growth, because at 30 million level plus, you need, in order to grow 2x, you need 2x the creatives, which means that.
Let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsors. Klaviyo is a growth marketing platform that powers over 25,000 online businesses. Klaviyo understands every single customer interaction and empowers brands to create more personalized marketing moments. Listen, analyze, and act on your customer data with Klaviyo. Visit klaviyo.com/2x.
We need to hire another 10 to 20 videographers, which is a lot. But yeah, to answer your question, we haven't figured out how to go into Europe, and we are not kind of focusing down there, because that means we would have to customize, websites. We would have to do all of the things that we are not good at this moment, at least. Although I know some people who specialize in it as well. There are some agencies to do that.
Okay, makes sense. Okay, now let's talk about this formula to growth. Especially I really like the way you framed the 30 million a year, getting past the 30 million a year revenue, milestone. What, in your perspective, are the key pillars that businesses can employ towards hitting that $30 million revenue mark, and what kind of timeline should a fairly early stage startup, D2C startup, look at towards hitting that 30 million? Should they break it down to 10, 25, and 30? What's your take on it? I'd really love to know.
It's actually very similar to what you just said, because I did it with 3 businesses at the same time, which was, for me, that's when I realized like they have the same exact problems. And I was fortunate enough, to be working with 3 businesses that were at the same stage. And if one of them made a mistake, I know what to do for another 2. So it was like the most amazing experience. But to get to 30 million, it took us two years with all of the 3 brands. One was a bit ahead. I think they were generating 300,000 per month from the beginning when I started working with them. One was generating 30,000 per month, and another one was generating, they just started. So the first year we hit around 10 million mark. The second year we hit 30. Like this year is going to be the second one. Like once we finish this year is going to be the second one. And we are, one of them will hit 45 million. One of them will hit 37, 39 maybe. And another one, 27 to 30 million. So it's kind of the same range, but at the same time, it's very formulaic. Like the growth kind of like at each stage of the growth, they'll need to redo the whole thing, what they did, the way they hired people, which people they hired, because in the beginning you kind of hire like a generalist who can be doing multiple things. Maybe they know how to do a bit of email marketing, maybe they know how to do a bit of SMS marketing, like all of these things. But when you go into like, for example, where we are at right now is that we need a specialist for each one of the areas. Like a director of e-commerce, director of influencer, director of data as well. Then director of acquisition, creative director. So all of these directors now are coming into play, and that's where we are focusing right now, is to be finding these directors for each one of these brands. And plus offices, like all of them were changing offices at the same time. We outgrew their office every year. But to get to this level, what we needed was Facebook ads, email marketing, creatives, and product launches. So these four kind of things, like SMS as well. I would add SMS. That was helping us as well. But these kind of 4 or 5 things were enough to get to 13 million. I'm not sure, what's going to take us to the next one, but what I've tried is I spread my team too thin a bit in the last 2 to 3 months. I was trying YouTube ads, I was trying this and that, but what I realized is that I need to be focusing on combining these things now, like influencer marketing with Facebook ads a bit more. Maybe, think of the ways how can I maximize the exposure to influencer marketing. Maybe with the influencer marketing plus hire a PR agency that would be putting these things like getting us articles exposure as well. I was thinking like, okay, influencer marketing, how can we do it with Facebook ads? And like, let's do advertorials, more of advertorial. So I think that kind of combination of these will get us to 50 million, which I believe at 50 million, there's going to be another kind of breaking point where we'll have to rethink the whole strategy. And maybe that's when I'm going to be introducing a new traffic channel. Let's say it can be YouTube. Like, we'll need to find something that is a lot more like scalable as Facebook, and YouTube could be the one, since we have the creative team too.
That makes sense. So would you say that that so basically you have Facebook ads, video creatives, email, SMS list, and then product launches. In regards to, and you can get to 30 million, right? Now, are these, so you said these are beauty and health brands, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Right. Are these single products or are these a suite of products?
So one of them is like sportswear. So with sportswear, for me, actually, that's that was the smartest and the most formulaic one, because in order for them to do a product launch, it's easy. They just change the design. That's it. Like, and they can be doing this month over month, and every launch, like out of 12 launches, out of 12 launches, maybe 3 designs would hit the mark, and we would scale the hell out of it. But for example, skincare, it's a bit more difficult. Like, we need 6 months to formulate it, to research it, to find the right blends, and like all of the things that our product development team is working on.
Yeah.
So it's a bit more difficult. Then there is another brand that I cannot unfortunately mention, but it's like very similar to the tights. But as well, like, that's what we've been doing. Although like we were lacking in the product development sense, that we were that they were kind of not listening to us that much, and they were not researching the customers, because customers tell what they want. You can call like hundreds of them, and then they'll tell you, this is the size, this is the whatever the color that they want the product to be in, and so on. And so these are the kind of the product launches that we're thinking about. And also we are expanding it, as I told you, and that we hired like someone from Nike who has been specializing in the product launches, and how that full cycle looks like as well. We just analyzed, actually, we finished analysis on Glossier's product launches, and it's really interesting how they do it, so we're going to combine like Nike and Glossier, and we'll come up with our product launch formula that will make sure that we hit each one of the products, like that's each one of the product will get us to the next level. And what I saw is that every product launch gives you a bump of 5 to 10% of your total revenue. So let's say we were generating 2 million in the beginning of the year, we are generating it, then we have a product launch, then boom, 2,200,000, then another product launch. And it's like 5 to 10% all the time.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting you're mentioning product launches, because I put together like a Black Friday guide for e-commerce brands, and one of the first points, which is like a major pillar in scaling, is get a product launch done in Q3 or at the start of Q4, so to get people excited about about your brand, to put you front and center in front of them. So when Black Friday comes, even if they've delayed that purchase, they have that appetite, to
Yeah.
want to purchase your brand. Bring it very close, because like if you look at Apple, that's why they do their product launch in September. Their biggest product launch is in September, because they know Q4 is around the corner, and there has to be that cycle. A lot of people will be buying iPhones, a lot of people will be buying AirPods and the like. It's very interesting,
That's a
and
smart one.
I love it. I love the fact that you mention product launches as part of a marketing strategy, because we always often hear about these are the LLAs, these are the this is the bid cap, this is how you're going to do your CBO, your ABO. We keep on getting thrown all these terminologies in Facebook ads, but we need to sort of strategically look at things. And I love that you guys are doing the more strategic thing, and you're looking at it as partners with the businesses to help them grow. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is the value, that you can be bringing to the business.
Yeah.
Like if you're an agency, like if you only know how to do Facebook ads, like Facebook ads now for us, it's like so simple. You just test the creatives. If they work, you just scale them up. You have a different campaign. So like you can teach anyone to do that, but from the
Exactly.
strategic point of view and problem solving point of view, this is where it gets tricky. And this is where actually now I start seeing, before I was kind of arrogant. I'm in this space, for 3 years. And before I was like, I'm better than them, like they have 5 years of experience and they are saying, how cool they are. And now I'm seeing like, wow, these 5 years of experience, gave me such a great ability to understand, where I'm going, which kind of mistakes I'm going into, and help my team members out. Like, okay, look, I've tried it before, it didn't work out. Like, let's move another way, or challenge them a bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it gives you far more broader strategic understanding, and agencies actually are the best schools for that, because you get to touch so many businesses, and then
Exactly.
later on you can apply it for one business, and then scale it.
Exactly.
Uh,
Exactly. Okay, I wanted to touch base on your framework, on your like formulatic or formulatic framework on Facebook, video, email, SMS, and product launches. Um, it's obvious that Facebook ads are mainly for acquisition. They expose the brand to the market. Um, why is email so important, and how come you're starting to get very interested in SMS, in SMS or SMS lists? Could you give us the relationship between those three pillars, please?
Yeah, so email has been always, for me, it's like a gold mine, that's how I see it. How many, like I'm every day, not every day, but every week I'm looking, okay, how many emails did we get this week, and how many SMS did we get? Because, for example, during Black Friday, our entire strategy is based on email and SMS. How many SMS can we get before? How many emails can we get? How can we expand? We were doing like Messenger and stuff, but like that didn't work out that well. So we are just focusing on these two things, and we've been focusing since last year. I think SMS caught my attention, and it's incredible, for the direct kind of sales. But you need top of the funnel, obviously, to be driving the traffic, to be getting the acquire SMS and emails. Actually, right now we are hiring like a CRM person as well to be.
Let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsors. Did you know that cloud-hosted e-commerce platforms like Shopify and BigCommerce do not provide automatic backups? Rewind steps in to protect Shopify and BigCommerce stores with automatic backups. Rewind is trusted by over 25,000 stores. Install Rewind and get to test it for free over 7 days. And to extend the 7-day trial to 30 days, head over to rewind.io, their website, and mention 2x eCommerce.
Dealing with emails plus loyalty line programs too. So Klaviyo and loyalty lines expert as well. But yeah, it's just a gold mine. Like the wealth or the health of the business, you can see it by the amounts of email or the amounts of active email subscribers, engaged email subscribers, because if they are not engaged, you'll go to the spam usually.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. So I guess email is a major metric on your dashboard in terms of like how many emails have we. So for each of the brands you work with, you look at the number of emails you've acquired on a monthly basis.
Yeah. So it depends, from brand to brand. Like sometimes they already come to us with their email kind of specialist, so we're just advising them what to do. It's usually for us, it usually doesn't work out really well when the partnership already has like a lot of people in their marketing department, because they have their own ways of doing things, and they're, what I see, especially if they're coming more from a corporate world or not such a fast growing world, it's going to be difficult because everything has to be approved, everything has to be double, triple, quadruple checked, and so on, and that's really stops the growth. What we see is that, like, you need to be testing at a very, very fast pace, and like all of the approvals and so on, they're gonna kill your business. And we have experienced it with one of the businesses that we went to, like from 1.5 million to 6.6 million in a month during COVID. Like we accelerated our growth by a lot, and then we hired, like we said, okay, we need to hire someone really good to manage the business, and we hired like someone from a corporate background, CMO from Foot Locker, and everything has to be approved, everything has to be like planned out and all of that, and it killed it completely, like everything slowed down. So yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. So in regards to like what are your thoughts on like life cycle marketing, and how do you bridge that connection between life cycle marketing and Facebook advertising? So direct response and having that long term relationship with a customer that generates lifetime revenue.
So actually, like last year, maybe I was having this thought as well. How do I extend our lifetime of the customer? And I had this thought, like, what are the beliefs that my customers have to believe about me, or what kind of touch points do I have to make so that they stay with us, not forever, but like for as long as possible. So that's how I started mapping out the whole email flow, the whole Facebook flow as well at the back end. And then we ended up, with the Facebook group as well. Now I'm exploring like forums as well, maybe just to have like an additional assets for us. I might not implement it, but it's something that I'm thinking about. But yeah, like what are the beliefs that they have to believe about your brand or your product to be continuing to be buying the product? And plus product launches, help a lot to extend that kind of life cycle as much as possible.
Yeah, yeah. What about SMS? What are you using SMS? Where does SMS come to play? Does it support email? Does it close sales? Where do you put it in the landscape now?
Yeah, it's like the most probably bottom of the funnel kind of channel that we have. Like we see lots of. It's difficult actually. Now I'm exploring some data platforms, and I was just to see attributions, to each one of the platforms. So emails and SMS are the top ones. Like the last click attribution is the best one down there, and we kind of as well. We have this thought in mind always when we create emails, when we want to expand it to SMS and maybe Facebook group as well. We sometimes send emails to join our Facebook group just to be so the thought is, how can we expand our marketing efforts and how can we acquire as many touch points from these customers as possible.
Yeah.
And I think we have it in the welcome sequence to join the SMS. I think for the Black Friday, if I'm not wrong, we're gonna send one email like saying like, do you want to join a VAP club, whatever, join our SMS list. And at the same time, we have it on the checkout page as well, that they can tick the box and then we can get the emails, SMS and so on.
So this next question is like does Bigfoot exist, or do unicorns exist type question. The question is, can you make a business from the first purchase only?
I don't think so. It's, well, you can make money, that's for sure. I've seen, people who could make like probably 300, 500K, even a million probably per year, doing that. But
Profitably? profitably?
Yeah. I really, well, I don't know. I haven't done it for a while already, but I don't think you can. You'll not create a brand. That's for sure. And now I guess it's probably very difficult, to be profiting from that. As actually well pointed out, that's probably these people who are sharing these screenshots on Facebook, they're not profiting, or rather just selling, to be selling the info products later on.
I guess the only ways, if you, I guess it's to figure out your your CPA and your AOV threshold. Because if you're selling something for $60 or $50, CPAs could be definitely in the 40s, in the 30s or 40s. How do you sort of balance out? So I guess my question is, what's your sweet point from an order value standpoint, where you say, okay, there is opportunity in scaling this brand out, from maybe the first purchase or purchase and a half, or two purchases?
So actually, like last year, I had a very interesting kind of experiment. Not experiment. I went to this one conference for copywriters, but I heard like there was this guy called Nick Daniels, who's a CEO of WeShred, and he said like, all I am focusing on is to be out testing my competition, right? And it was early September last year. I came back to my home, and then I said, okay, I'm just gonna 10x the amounts of tests that I'm doing, and I'll be testing everything. Like for 1 month, I'll be a machine of testing. And I did it, and I managed to find a few hacks, not hacks, but just a few strategies, that increased my AOV immediately by $5. And that one was, I combined all of the products that we had in the store into one mega bundle, which cost around $400. And immediately on the same day, there were 5 people who bought it. I think then the people started buying it, and it increased my AOV by $5. And then I found some other hack that extended my lifetime value and decreased the CPA as well. I think it was advertorials. Like I found a formula how to do advertorials, and I can actually share it with you. So basically, the way I did it, I wrote a sales page, and on top of the sales page, like usually when you go to the copywriters, what if they do like an A/B test, I forgot how they are called, like beating the control, they would just change the top parts, right? But I said, okay, like it's gonna be expensive every time to go to a copywriter, like a good copywriter who will be swapping this. I cannot afford that. So what I did is I wrote that copy. I maybe wrote a few copies, like with just changing the headline, and I found the one that worked. And what I did then is I went to BuzzSumo and I found the most viral articles that are out there about my particular topic that I wanted to write about. I found 5, and I wrote like a very simple kind of piece of content, which was like, for whatever, keys to success, let's say. And then I put it on top of it, and then that worked, so I created another 10. Like I selected a few other topics, and it's just a short one, like 2 sentences, like 1 point, 2 sentences, the second point, and so on. So I kept swapping it, and my CPM started to decrease because they are on BuzzSumo. That means that they are going viral somewhere. And they were like super clickbaity. Well, they were not super clickbaity, but people were pressing, like cost per landing page view was double. Like I reduced it by 50%. And then I had this sales page, and they would buy the product. So I reduced my CPA by maybe $5, and I increased my AOV by $5. And we went in 2 or 3 weeks, we went from making 300K to 1.5 million. And that's before Black Friday, which is like the best time to be scaling the accounts, because you get so much traffic before that, you get so many emails, you get so many SMS, and then you can blast it all during the Black Friday. So I found these hacks, and it's like I realized that only by increasing the AOV by $5, you can be outspending your competition by.
Let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsors. Klaviyo is a growth marketing platform that powers over 25,000 online businesses. Klaviyo understands every single customer interaction and empowers brands to create more personalized marketing moments. Listen, analyze, and act on your customer data with Klaviyo. Visit klaviyo.com/2x.
A lot and you can decrease the CPA, by a bit. So imagine what you could do if the lifetime value of your customer is like $20 more. Obviously, you need to manage the cash flow and so on. But like, for example, when I look at the companies like Disney, they probably can afford to spend maybe $3,000 or maybe more to acquire one customer, because they have their entire kind of universe built around them.
Exactly.
Because the customers will buy it all over the place. So my next actually stage of growth, I think, will be to be thinking, how can we be strategically acquiring new companies to be plugging into our kind of flows, and be increasing our lifetime value by a lot, and that way we can outspend our competition once again.
That makes a lot of sense. Thanks for the tips on there in regards to the testing on advertorial and sales pages. So just to iterate, did you use any software to sort of rotate and change the headlines, or was it manual?
So it was, I think, Shogun. I used Shogun, or one of the landing page tools. Now, since it's like kind of part of the SOPs, we have done it with the developers, and it took us a bit longer and so on, but it's like the loading speed is much quicker and so on.
Exactly. And when you think about it, the whole dynamic creative, universe or, feature of Facebook advertising is really centered around, testing, and Facebook is helping you copy test with headlines and, creatives and descriptions and stuff, and ad text, and it just cycles in till it finds, what works. Do you use dynamic creatives in your Facebook ads?
Actually, we don't. We have like a very good Facebook rep working with one of the partners of ours, and she said that you shouldn't be using, because she sees the whole data, I guess. And she said that it's more like created more for smaller advertisers, not for those who want to scale their businesses. That's what she told us. And we tested it before as well, and that's the reason why we asked her, like, why there are some businesses that are praising it, and for us it simply doesn't work. She said that at your scale you shouldn't be doing that. So we kind of work together with our Facebook rep to be like, she's the first Facebook rep that we can actually trust to advise us, so we kind of create like our own creative testing machine with her as well.
Awesome. Okay. Finally, you talked about the 5 lever points, testing lever points. You want to just go through them?
Yeah. So we are always testing AOV. We are trying to figure out how to increase our AOV, then reduce our CPAs. CPAs usually are done by either advertorials or creatives. So that's the biggest point over there. Then we think about how to increase our lifetime value. So loyalty programs, Facebook group maybe as well can help, emails, SMS, and all of these, and product launches. And then conversion rate optimization. So we try to increase the conversion rate on the website. It's getting a bit more difficult because we are adding lots of variables to the puzzle, because the stores are expanding, and it's becoming a bit more difficult to find like these small things that can increase the conversion rate by a lot. But we're always testing it, and sometimes you can find something on there, but from my experience, like with conversion rate optimization, it's tricky. It's very difficult to get correct data. Plus, we used quite a few agencies now, and they always broke our website. So we always ended up, being worse off than we were before. So we're not focusing on that right now, but I bet that once we stabilize the performances, we'll be focusing on that a lot.
Awesome. One final question before I let you go. How did you and Kris meet?
Actually, we worked for 6 or 8 months maybe together, and I had actually another girlfriend back at that time, but then we had a team trip in Guatemala, and we kind of fell in love down there.
That's so romantic.
But like the full story was that we took psychedelics together, and then we fell in love. Always helps.
Always helps, right? Always helps. Okay. I lied. Another question is, what book are you currently reading?
Rational Optimist.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm actually, last week I started getting into a very strict regimen of reading books for 2 hours per day. So last week I read maybe 3 books. This week I hope I'm gonna finish Rational Optimist and another one sci-fi book, I think, recommended by Elon Musk. So trying to get into his mind as well, how he's thinking.
Yeah. What's your best book to date? What's your most highly recommended book?
Depends on the genre. For me, from the leadership perspective, Multipliers was a game changer, kind of understanding how can I be giving freedom to the people that I'm working with and still be fine. And actually it's helping me a lot when I see that there are some managers, or I don't know how I would call myself. I'm not a manager. So, but there are people in my positions who want to control it all, as I said, and they want to control everything to the smallest detail. And when you do that, like, you just kill the creativity of the people. You just kill the initiatives that they could come up with on their own and allow them to test. So right now, like, if you saw the way I manage things, it's like pretty laid back, like, okay, you make a decision, like, I'm gonna challenge your decision, but ultimately it's you who have to make a decision. So yeah, that's one book that I would highly recommend for multipliers from the spirituality point of view. Siddhartha, I just read it last week. It was one of the best ones, like to understand, what's happening around the world, or with my spirituality, because I'm very into psychedelics and just meditations and all of these things. These are the ones that are coming to my mind. From the advertising perspective, Eugene Schwartz. I don't think that's after Eugene Schwartz, you don't kind of need to be reading any more books on advertising. These are the books I would recommend.
Awesome. David, it's been an absolute pleasure having you. For those of you who want to find out more about, David, head over to sugatan.io. That's SUGATAN.io. Are there any social media platforms you are or your team is most active on?
Yeah, so we do have a Facebook group. You can find us down there. It's eCommerce Growth Hacks. You can find us there. I'm not super active right now down there, but I promise myself that I will be after this November kind of Black Friday, Cyber Monday is done, because I'm just out of touch with the reality right now. But yeah, down there you're gonna find me, and you can ask me any question, and I'll share what I can. What I can't, I'll share maybe in 2 or 3 months. Usually that's how it works with clients, that they allow me to share our wins like after 2 or 3 months.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll link to it to the show notes, and I'm looking forward to joining you on your podcast, because you guys run a podcast.
Yes, you're gonna be joining us already,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. I'm good. I've not filled out the form yet, but I'm gonna. Just this is a confirmation that I will be there.
Awesome. I'll be waiting for you, and I'm particularly interested what you have learned interviewing so many, different e-commerce owners and like people in our space, and what are the commonalities between them? Because I bet there are some, maybe there aren't, I don't know, but we'll be interested in to hear it from you.
I'll prepare very well for it. David, it's been an absolute pleasure, having you on the show. You guys are doing incredible things, and I wish you, continued success. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks a lot for for allowing me to share our kind of insights, success stories, and I hope that there will be some people who get inspired and will try to outtest their competition as well.
Awesome. My regards to Kris. All the best. Cheers.
Thanks a lot.